So, I'm about to turn 32 years old in 5 days from when this episode airs, and I dare say it's been some rather interesting years, and I'm stoked to see what the next 32 years will hold for me. Because looking back, I've I've done a lot. Like just to list a couple of highlights, okay? I moved abroad several times. I landed my dream job. I studied. I dropped out of uni with only 2 exams left. I was fast tracking up the career ladder in finance. I burnt out and fell deep. I stayed for too long in a toxic relationship and only realized after the wedding, got an annulment, chose entrepreneurship over corporate, found my dream man, went from having body issues and eating disorder to being happy and healthy and strong. I turned up the volume of my voice again, started a podcast, this YouTube channel. I wrote a book. Damn, like I wrote a freaking book. I went blonde and back to all natural again. I got loads of tattoos, as those who are watching the YouTube version can see, that all tell stories also about like who I am and reinforce who I am. And I still can't get a tan. Like just just to list up a couple of things that I tried in those 32 years, and to just leave out a couple of the other bits. Anywho, but as you know, as you do on such occasion, if you have a podcast and you run your own business, you talk about the lessons you learned and you share what you would tell your younger self or anyone else who is basically under 30. Though kind of, I'm actually convinced that some of these nuggets might still be good for you to chew on, even if you are over 30, because actually they don't ever lose validity, except maybe for very few ones. Anywho, let's dive right in. First up, why hello, this is future editing Josie here. I just realized that this episode actually turned out way longer than I imagined. So we will be breaking it into 2 parts. What you are listening to today or watching today is part 1, and the second part, as kind of like a bonus episode, will be then released this Thursday. But without further ado, enjoy this first part of the episode of 32 lessons learned in 32 years of life. This list is very much a list of me just writing down the lesson and then I shall ramble. So this episode will be a little bit more rambly than usual. Can't talk today. Anywho, first one is have crazy goals no one else understands, and be okay with no one else understanding you having those goals. Like, not everybody has to. That's totally okay. But the reason I'm saying this one is I want you to be delusional. I want you to be dreaming big. I want you to reach far. I want you to reach for the stars. I want you to reach as far as you can to really get the absolute best and maximum experience that you are here on this planet to have. So have those crazy goals no one else understands. If mediocre is not for you, if normal is not for you, that's great. Like, break out of it. Dare to go for what you truly, truly want. And on the way, and that's lesson 2, you will make mistakes. And that's okay. You will also get people to hate you. And that's okay too. So don't just see your life as this one opportunity where you have to succeed all the time, because you will not. Trust me, and you already know that. But I know you don't want to hear it, but you will make mistakes, okay? You will fail. But use those failures as those stepping stones that will get you to your ultimate goal, to your crazy goal. And some people will be with you on that journey. Some people will be with you on this journey for a little bit of time, some maybe longer, some for the whole time. And that's okay. Some people will be with you but don't understand you, and some will not understand you and not be with you, or not be with you but do understand you, that just go their separate ways, maybe because you just don't vibe as much as you do with others. And that's okay, as long as you keep on going your path. And that also feeds into the next lesson, which is be determined as fuck, but not rock stiff in your perspective. Like, stay open. Like, do be a dickhead in terms of like your determination, but don't be like completely blocked as to not allow any other expertise, experience, or lessons to come in and help you. Like, still stay open to support, still stay open to changing, to pivoting where needed. Because otherwise you're just robbing yourself from other possibilities, and you might actually choose the path that is super complicated. If you're someone like me who likes to, or tends to, not like, I don't like doing that, but I tend to overcomplicating things. So choosing the path of least resistance sometimes means to let other people in, to change the perspective, to change the path of direction, to go where it's simpler or easier. So do stay open to that, but be determined that no matter what path you go, you will go and reach that goal. And as you go, and that's the next lesson, rest. Do not ever underestimate rest. I burnt out, so I learned my lesson the hard way, to pour into myself first, always. Keep on pouring into yourself. You want to enjoy this journey. You don't want to be like just grinding yourself to the bare bones and not enjoying anything. You don't want to be miserable all the time, okay? We want you to enjoy this journey, and that means to rest, to give space so you can also enjoy that fruit of your labor, to also give space, especially if we take this analogy of going to the gym, like you're training your muscles. In order for them to grow, they need rest. Otherwise, they are just overstimulated and they burn out, and then they're like, what the fuck just happened? Okay? We don't want that to happen to all of you, not just your biceps, but all of you. So do rest, pour into yourself first, always. Which brings us to the next lesson. Surround yourself with like-hearted people, not just like-minded. That's something I actually just learned recently. Actually, to me personally, I have to say, like-minded and like-hearted kind of like had the same meaning, but just making the subtle differentiation I found so powerful, which is why I love using it now, and which is why I say it now as well. So surround yourself with like-hearted people, people who might think differently than you, who might have different opinions than you, but they are, it was a very, very funny but, but they are connected with you on the heart space. They feel for the things with you. They celebrate with you. They have this same longing, craving for a good life than you. They have completely different goals than you maybe, but they still have the same passion, the same drive, the same oomph. I don't know how else to describe it, but the same oomph and the same energy and the same vibes. So for example, I just came off a really great live that I did with Amanda on Instagram, and we talked for 67 minutes, like, crazy, honestly. But we were vibing so much, and even though she does completely different things, so yes, we connect over like mindset and stuff, but she does Reiki, I don't do Reiki. She does tarot cards, I don't do tarot cards. I have my little oracle cards that I use every now and then because they provide a great perspective, but we don't do the same things. But what we are very similar in is our energy, how we want to pour into others, how we pour into ourselves, our passion into all of this, the values we carry. So surround yourself with like-hearted people. And shameless side plug here, if you want to get into a group where we already exist, where you have a full group with those like-hearted people, join the Best Selves Club. You will find some information in the description box below. Anywho, that brings us also to the next lesson, which is simplify everything. And I mean everything. Again, that goes back to the point of stop overcomplicating shit, okay? We are not here for overcomplicating. We want simple. Simple is best. So let's simplify everything. So, pardon me, I burped. Good start, good example. It's a good example, for example. Oh my gosh. Best example is this podcast right here, because I was overcomplicating it for 2-ish years. Yeah. So I always wanted to start a podcast, but I was overcomplicating it. I thought I need a co-host, I need to have a perfect setup. I thought even that I maybe need to go into a studio and to have all of these fancy things before I can start a podcast. I was overcomplicating it. But in the end, it was actually easier than I thought, because I just needed to order my little microphone here, a better camera so the video doesn't look as shit as with my laptop camera, and start hitting record and putting the content out there, getting familiar with this space of sharing value in a long form kind of content, also having those conversations, bringing guests in. And I really got down to such a simple process. Like, it's really not overcomplicated. It's if I bring a guest in and I like the person, or they ask me that they want to come on, I send them a little schedule link. They schedule the session. It's either Mondays or Fridays. They're booked in. I prepare for the session by stalking them a little bit, and then we get going and do the interview. And then I edit it. My boyfriend edits the rest. He's my savior. He's the magician behind all of the edits. Shout out to you if you're watching this. Well, you are. Anywho, but yeah, and that's all. Then we load it up into YouTube and to Buzzsprout, and that's that. It's actually fairly simple. It's not that complicated to start a podcast. In my mind, I was blowing it up into this huge elephant, but it doesn't need to be. Which also leads us to the next lesson. Don't take life too serious. Have fun, especially in the things that you dislike doing the most, which, for example, for me is content. I do not like doing content. I don't like creating content, and it's okay. But I found ways to make it more fun, to make it more likable, by just introducing and infusing almost like more of my personality in it. So some of the reels that you see on my Instagram, they are a bit more like, not necessarily acting. I wouldn't say it's great acting by any means, okay? But there's a little bit of acting. There's just a little bit of, let's make it a bit more fun, a bit more lighthearted, less serious, less corporate-y, less professional, and a little bit more chaotic, fun me. But that's the thing. That's the thing that makes me laugh, because it is so much more fun. It's literally more enjoyable. So don't take life too serious. Have fun, especially in the things that you don't like doing. Then the next lesson is have your own back. Always have your own back, especially when shitty things happen. Take ownership, control what you can, stay positive, not toxic positive, but stay positive, but also firm in your rights and communicate. Maybe that might be boundaries, maybe that might be your opinion or your experience of things, but communicate. So what I mean by that is, don't be a people pleaser and don't be a pushover. Have your own back, stand up for yourself. Like if your friend would go through something really shitty, would you tell them to just like suck it up and be like, don't be such a pussy and just take it? Like, no, that's not how we want to talk up to our friend. So you should also not talk to yourself like that, okay? Have your own back, stand your ground. If you're wrong, own it, take the ownership, control what you can. If you have to say sorry, do say sorry, but also stay positive. Again, we are learning from mistakes. We are always growing. We are also only human. And stand firm in your rights and communicate that. Just open and honest communication. Communicate your experience exactly how it is. Don't shy away from sharing too many details. Like, I went through a couple of different difficult situations this year where I was like, should I say something or should I just let it happen? But I just couldn't align with letting it happen. I had to say something, and it worked out for the better. Like, not that this person necessarily is still in my life, like it was really a conflict kind of situation, but it worked out for the better. And I felt proud because I stood up for my rights and myself, and I did not let her push me over. I did not let that affect me in terms of like a victim kind of like thing. I took control for what I've done, and I also took control of how I was communicating. And that was really the best solution in that situation. Next lesson is let go of what doesn't serve you. And that kind of like feeds back into the last example, actually. But let go of what doesn't serve you ASAP. Like, shed the dead weight. We don't want that. Free yourself from the attachment of this dead weight. We don't want to carry like this huge backpack of things, of grudges and like conflicts and negativity all the time around. It's like, we all have our backpack. Yes, that's totally fine. That's just something we have to keep on work through. And that's okay. But there are so many things that we don't need to hold on to. There's so many like thoughts that we might be fostering still, like, oh, that person said this like 5 years ago, like, oh my gosh, this was so horrible, like, how dare you. I feel like actually Selling Sunset is a great example. Like they are bringing up things that happened 5 years ago, and they're still mad about it. Like, don't you have better things to do than being mad about this? I know it's all for drama, and possibly it's also scripted and shit, but I know that so many people in real life are doing that too. They are still mad at something that happened years and years ago today. They keep on holding on to that. This is not serving you, like, at all. Free yourself of that, free that energy, so you can focus it on something that's actually nourishing and of service to you. Okay, next lesson. If you don't try, that's when you fail. If you don't try, if you don't even give it a try, if you don't even try starting, that's when you actually fail. If you try and then it turns out this isn't for me and you pivot and do something else, that's not failing. That's you pivoting and going a different route. But if you don't try, you are already from the beginning, basically taking away this possibility of you succeeding. You already put that label on you and say you failed, even though you haven't tried. And that doesn't make sense. It's so funny. It's actually such like a weird construct almost. It doesn't make sense. It's so contradictory. That's the word I'm looking for. It's so contradictory because you don't try because you're afraid of failing. However, if you don't try, that's actually when you fail. I say that again. You don't try because you're afraid of failing. But if you don't try, that's when you actually fail. So one example that I can bring up is with my book. For so long, I did not start writing the book because I was afraid to fail, because I was afraid of what other people would say, because I didn't trust that I could put what I wanted to say into words, because I thought, oh, but English is not my first language. I will struggle, it will be hard, whatever. Like, I came up with all of those excuses to not write the book. But what I rocked myself off in that moment was writing that book, making this crazy dream of mine to become a published author a reality. I've been carrying this dream for decades, and now I won't even try? Like, hell no, that's not me, okay? So that's why I tried. I sat down, the first idea I had for my book, that was a no-go. Like, I was like, no. I stopped writing on that book. I think it wrote like 4 chapters or something, so I didn't write a lot. Anywho, long story short, I then sat down again. I didn't fail. I kept going back to it again. And that's when I sat down and wrote my book that we now have, which is called And There She Goes Her Way, which is my debut book. So again, if you don't try, that's when you fail. So do go and try. And that also leads into the next lesson, which is say yes to opportunities and move fast when they come up. So what I mean by that is, if something pops up, if the universe comes and is delivering you something and it's like, do you want this? You better be like, yes, thank you, more please. Like, don't let opportunities pass. Don't sleep on opportunities too fast. Like, if they are not meant for you, they will slip away again. If they are not meant for you, you can try them and test them out and be like, actually, that's not for me, cool. But at least you tried, at least you put your name into the hat. That's the saying, right? So do say yes to opportunities and move fast when they come up. Example for me, there was an email popping in a couple of weeks ago that was like a great opportunity for a little side hustle here in my building, perfect for a little hermit like me. I was immediately like, yes, let's apply, put my application in, got the interview, got the job. So it's a nice little side hustle that just supports me along the way. So there was an opportunity that came in and I was like, let's move fast, let's say yes to this. Obviously, if you immediately notice it's an opportunity that is absolutely not aligned with any of your values or your goals, then you know that's a no. You don't have to say yes to literally everything. But if there is something where you're like, ooh, this sounds really good, or something that intrigues you, where you're like excited and you feel like this could be something good to do, then go and do it quick. However, that's where we come into the next lesson. you got also time. You do not need to rush into things that aren't a full body yes. So that goes back into if there's maybe something coming up or something that is on your mind in terms of like a project that you want to do. Maybe you want to write a book as well. Maybe you want to start a podcast as well. Maybe you want to go on YouTube. Maybe you want to start a side hustle. Don't do all of these things at once. You don't need to rush into things all at once. Go with the ones that are full body yes right now to you, and then go into the next one. Maybe they all are full body yes, I totally get that, but then ask yourself which one is the most important, which one can have the most impact, maybe even support you in completing those other projects that you have. That also leads into the next lesson. I know I'm kind of like breezing through them, but it's 32 lessons, so I don't want to keep you up for too long. Which is the next lesson. So the next lesson is create more than you consume. And this is something I got from the book Fast Lane, Millionaire Fast Lane something. So my boyfriend recommended that book. I'm still reading it. It's great. But one of the core messages is to create more than you consume. Put something out there first before you take in. That obviously in that setting of the book goes into your finances as well. So create something that makes you a lot of money so you consume and don't need to worry about the money. But I also feel like that's in general something in terms of like the giving and receiving kind of energies in the universe. So what you put out there, you receive. So the more you put out there, the more you receive. It's a simple law of the universe. So one example for that could also be, I created like a little range of journals that I love using. And I'm using them myself. So I'm creating them and I'm also consuming what I created, which is even like a win-win, I guess. Anywho, next lesson, do one thing at a time. Don't multitask and spread yourself too thin. That goes kind of like back into you got time. Do not rush into things that aren't a full body yes, but do one thing at a time. Because if you give one thing your full focus, and you finish it, then you know it's done. Especially if you have ADHD and you want to get things done. This is a game changer. I know we like to get distracted and stuff. I just want to say undiagnosed ADHD here, but I'm very sure that I have it. My boyfriend will be like, no, you don't. Anywho, do one thing at a time. Don't multitask and spread yourself too thin, because if you're spreading, like imagine you have like this 100% pot of energy, like, I don't know, I'm imagining like a honey pot right now. So if you have this honey pot, and you want to give that out, so you can either spread that on loads and loads and loads of different breads, but you might not have the right amount of spread on that bread of honey. So do one first so it has the perfect amount, then do the next and do the next and do the next and do the next. And don't spread yourself too thin. Like rather focus on quality, like a perfect slice of bread with a little bit of butter and lots of honey, rather than having the wrong ratio of lots of butter and maybe no honey at all because you chose to spread yourself too thin. Hope that makes sense. Next lesson, learn by doing. This is one of the lessons I have been living by, I feel like, for a long, long time now. Learning by doing is the best way for me personally to learn. Maybe you are a different type of learner, that's okay too. But learning by doing also actually encompasses and includes lots of mindset work. So your mindset also wants to see you doing those things that you want to change in your life. Otherwise, your brain will be like, well, where's the proof? You're thinking these new thoughts, but you're not doing anything. So what are we doing with this? So learning by doing also means to follow up with the action. For any change that you want, for any progress that you want to make, you got to put in the action, and you will make mistakes by it. You will make mistakes, which is the other lesson as well, to learn by failing fast, then get up again and move on. So I want to point that out as a separate lesson, because by failing fast, you can be like, okay, cool, this happened. How can we clean this up? How can we can get back up again and move on? Then another learning lesson is learn through surrounding yourself with others who know more than you. Ask yourself, do you want to be the smartest fish in the pond? and be surrounded by idiots and not being able to learn from anyone? Or do you want to be not necessarily the dumbest, but have lots of potential to grow? Let's be very diplomatic here. Let's have lots of potential to grow and learn from others and have geniuses and experts around you who know more or better than you. Where do you feel like you have more potential to learn or to succeed? Yes, maybe in the pond with idiots around you, you will be like celebrated as a king or queen, and people will be like, oh my gosh, you're the best, you know everything. But do you? Do you really know everything? Do you really know the best way to do things? Do you know the simplest way to do things? Do you know the most rewarding or lucrative way to do things? Probably not. But if you are surrounded by people who know more or better than you can learn. So you already open yourself up to this limitless potential to not necessarily soak it up yourself, all of that. Like, you don't need to become a master from all of those expertise areas. Like, I will never know enough about, I don't know, astrology or like biology, like those kind of things. That's not my expertise, but I can surround myself with those experts if I were to need that expertise. So I can tap into those pools and use that. And we can collaborate and help another out. So do also surround yourself with people who know more than you. I know that was like 3 lessons in one. But next one. Well, hello again. It's future Josie here. And I just want to say, like, this is where we will end this episode, but you will get the second half of those 32 lessons. So you will get another 16 in the next episode, which will be released on Thursday. With that, I shall see you then and hope you have a great time.